Wanbdi Wakita Mniericheya O Krishna Wachiniya Peha Vaya 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 Vaya. My dad came to us and said, "You kids have to go to school, residential school. And if you don't go to residential school, the RCMP is going to put me in jail." He said, "Okay, I guess gotta go to school." A bus came, a regular bus that took people around from Myrtle down through into Brandon every day. And so Sunday night, was a whole bunch of us went over to where the bus stops, and my brothers and sisters, we got on. Late in the evening, 10 o'clock or so, we got to our destination, and then they drove us to the residential school. Boy, it was a tiring day, long drive. In the residential school, I'm kind of an adventurous guy, you know. I'm ready to, what's going to happen next? Where do we need to go? What are we going to do? How was that until the interference, the things that the way that they didn't treat us right, that started to happen. The first thing they done is shave off all my hair. I never know anybody to treat me like that. I don't. I was big for my age. My job is to take the laundry. It's a big, heavy bag. You have to carry it downstairs to the laundry. I take it down there and I dump it off. And on the way back, I pass through the kitchen. And along the wall there's boxes there full of bread. They're not cut. They're just bread. And beside those pails of peanut butter and jam. And I would take one of each, and those loaves of bread, I put them in my bag, carried back upstairs. So at a very early age, the residential school made me a thief. I was good at stealing. And I'd hide that bag. They were still up, those boys. And you could hear the supervisor. He has the key. There's a key he used to shut the lights off and turn it on. He's the only one that none of us can switch it on. It's always a key. So anyway, right after he shuts the lights off, it's early too, maybe 9 o'clock. He shut the lights off, and you could hear his footsteps going all the way down. You could hear. We're listening for that, and then pretty soon, no more footsteps. We jump out of bed. It's dark. We jump out of bed, we go to this bag and rip open those bread with our hands, put jam, peanut butter, and we'd just be eating. And then we'd go to bed. Early the next morning before the supervisor comes, someone has to sweep all the crumbs off and hide them. That was somebody else's job. But that's what we used to do. Most of the workers, all of the workers, as far as I know, were not non-indigenous workers. The teachers, the farm instructor, the principal, everybody. They're all Washichu. And I'm pretty sure they don't know what we needed, because what they thought was okay, that's what they made us do. You know, the first time I ran away, my Uncle John, he brought his boy, his youngest boy, to the residential school where I was, and he said to Sky, I said, "Look after this boy here." I said, "Okay." So he, he went home, and the boy was kind of keeping an eye on him. And one evening and one day, he was crying. He was sitting over there and crying. I went over there and I said, "What's going on?" I said, "What happened?" In my language, Dakota, you're not supposed to speak. You're not supposed to speak our language. But I did. I said, "Okay, John." He said, "I don't like it here." Okay, well, that old man told me to look after him, so you want to go home? I said, "Yeah," I said. So early the next morning, before anybody was awake, or him and I went running out the door and went down the hill, across the river, up to the highway. We got up to the highway and a truck gave us a ride right away. We went, but I don't know, the, the nearest town was about 50 miles away maybe. And then we got off and then we went towards our house. I know where our house is. And then another farmer, it was starting to rain and we were getting kind of soaked a little bit, and another farmer gave us a ride. And in those days they were kind, those farmers, they picked us up and they drove. Well, I gotta turn here, that farmer said. He let us off. We started walking. But we could see that little town close to our house, on the town there, and so we're just getting real close to that little town, and all of a sudden there's a vehicle come behind us, a green station wagon. I knew who that was. That was the administrator of the school where we went. He had two big boys with him. If we ran away, they're going to chase us, those boys. I know that's what they do. So we jumped back in. They took us back. And that night, in front of everybody, they took our pants down and they strapped us. Boy, he really strapped us really hard. I had an injury from that. I still carry that today. And I guess that's why the government paid us to compensate us for going to residential school and getting treated really bad. Oh boy, I didn't like it. The second time I ran away, I jumped on the bus and I ran away home. And sure enough, my dad was cutting wood. And when he came in, he said, "Oh, what are you doing home?" "I don't like the school." I said, "I don't want to go to school." "Well," he said, if you don't go to school, you got to get to work." He said, "You can't stay here," my dad told me. He was kind of a mean, because when he went to World War II, he had, it would be termed PTSD. But in those days, they have different names for that, shell shock or whatever it is. We don't know what's going to happen from day to day. That's the way my dad was. So he said, "You can't stay here." So I took that little suitcase and I walked out the door. It was February. It was dark already. I went to the highway, a gravel road. I stood there, no cars were coming. All of a sudden I seen some lights coming.